always going to be some control on what kind of trade goes on around the world, right? And who controls that? Who actually takes decision regarding this is the organization whose name is World Trade Organization. Okay, so today we are going to study about that. Some international and powerful organizations strove for free trade. We have already seen why these barriers were considered harmful for trade and how liberalization of trade came to be. The World Trade Organization (WTO) was one such organization. Around 165 countries around the world are currently members of the WTO, which lays down rules regarding the practice of international trade. All right, so the organization which controls this kind of trade, that is a global trade, is called as the World Trade Organization. Okay, and it is constantly striving for free trade, of course, but we are going to see by the end of this period, is it also striving for fair trade? Okay, currently 165 countries are members to that, and currently 165 members are there in this WTO, and this organization lays down the rules and sees to it that rules are practiced in this kind of international or global trade. The WTO is supposed to ensure free trade occurs between countries, but its founders, the developed countries, have unfairly retained trade barriers. So actually speaking, WTO is established to see to it that there is a free trade or the policy of liberalization is followed, and as well as there is fair trade. But unfortunately, what is happening is they are practicing free trade with other countries, but when it comes to their own country, they don't want this freedom, they want trade barriers. And we are going to find out why it is so. Additionally, they have forced developing countries to practice free trade. Okay, now I'm going to open the textbook to this page and we'll read that debate and we'll find out if their policy is correct. So that's on page 65 of your textbook. Okay, the World Trade Organization. Okay, so you can expect a question of 1 mark here. World Trade Organization is an organization whose aim is to liberalize international trade. So what is WTO? You can write it is an organization whose aim is to liberalize international trade. Okay, about how many countries are members of it? It is here. Okay, and what are they practicing? They are practicing the policy of free trade, okay, but they themselves have a lot of trade barriers on their own countries. And who are the founder members? The founder members are the developed countries. Can you name one or two developed countries?
USA.
US.
Okay, and based on
South
what do we
America, South Korea.
good, based on what criteria do we say that a country is developed?
Financial conditions.
Only.
The price of the currency.
Okay, so last year in that development chapter you have used certain terms, right?
Ma'am, I think on basis of trades also we can
GDP.
Yes,
say that it is
but when we
developed.
call of developed countries, we are using the criteria of per capita income or the average income of the country, and also other indexes like what? Literacy rate and the life expectancy rate of that country. So if all this is higher as compared to other countries in the world, okay, then the country is a developed country. So yes, USA is an example of developed countries. Now let's see what is this debate about.
Debate on trade practices. You have seen in Chapter 2 that the agriculture sector provides the bulk of employment and significant proportion of the GDP in India. Compare these to a developed country such as the US with the share of agriculture in GDP at 1% and its share in total employment a tiny 0.5%. And yet this very small percentage of people who are engaged in agriculture in the US receive massive and for export
Here, massive sums of money.
government for
Here,
production
here.
and for
Hmm.
export to other countries. Due to this massive money that they receive, US farmers can sell the farm products at abnormally low prices, the surplus farm products are sold in other country market at low prices, adversely affecting farmers in these countries.
Okay, stop. So what is the population in US that's indulged in this uh, agriculture? How much of the total US population is into employment based on agriculture?
Uh, 0.5.
Yes, only 0.5%. And do you have any idea how many percentage of people in India have indulged themselves in this? What percentage of Indian population is into agriculture? Any
Ma'am, I
idea?
think less than half.
Less than half. So it's 49% actually. You're right, 49% of Indian population is into agriculture. And the GDP that the US is getting based on agricultural products is only 1% of the total GDP. Okay. Whereas in India, obviously, many people are more dependent on agriculture, and hence the GDP rate in India differs based on the amount of people that are into those kind of activities. So now, why do you think this debate is there? What will happen? That means from the total population of the US, only 0.5 percentage are doing farming, correct? And whereas in India, almost 50% are doing farming, almost. Do you agree? Now, what is the
Yes.
advantage that these US farmers have from their government? What is the US government doing for them? It is not putting trade barriers. So you mean to say that the countries outside US can come and sell their products to US? Is that the policy? What is the US government doing for these farmers? See, the US farmers are actually getting lot of things from their government. The government is providing them many things at a subsidized rate. You know what is a subsidized rate, right? Less amount. In India also we say that the government has lot of schemes for the farmers. Indian government also is providing farmers with lot of seeds and implements and fertilizers at a lower price, but unfortunately it doesn't reach the farmers. There are some middlemen and there are some malpractices that go on, and hence these kind of developmental projects don't reach the farmers, and the condition of the Indian farmers remains poorer. Whereas in US, the sometimes the government itself purchases from these farmers at a higher price. The products. What are these agricultural products? Can you name few agricultural products?
Rice, cotton,
Right. Okay, as a
wheat.
crop, but any output that you produce from that is called as an agricultural produce, right? So any agro-based industry can also be labeled as this, correct? So these people are getting subsidy from from their government. I just want to take you back to your grade 7 chapter agriculture which you had studied. Have you, I mean, you had read that time the comparison between the conditions of Indian farmer and the US farmer. Do you remember that? Yes. What was the difference?
One,
Was there
ma'am, the
any
difference
difference?
was that U.S. farmer get many facilities from government itself, but Indian farmers get very less facilities compared to them. And as there is a middleman, so they have to give charge to middleman too. Middleman, then many
Technology
charges are
also.
there.
Yes,
And
yes.
many new advanced technology is cheaper in US as compared to India. And government take many initiatives to give them tractor, crop, fertilizer, many things.
Correct. So one thing of advantage is, I mean, to US farmers is that they are staying in a country where actually, if you compare the geographical area, that is a total land available for farming is much higher as compared to the population. Whereas in India, the population is more, and hence they actually practice intensive subsistence farming. So with intensive subsistence farming, they are anyway not getting that much output, and plus to add to it, the benefits that they are getting for the from the governments don't reach them. So they can't think of actually selling their prices. I mean, they're selling their products in the market at a low price. They are forced to do that, but forget in the local market itself, they are not getting enough amount for it. So in international market, how will they? Because what US is doing is, in their own country, they have enough consumers in their own country, and they are looking for, like an MNC, they are looking for people outside their country to sell their products. So when these products go in the US market, I mean outside US, they are sold at a cheaper price, and it won't affect the farmer. It won't affect the US farmer. Why? Because whatever he has grown actually is from the full subsidy amount of the government. So his input into it monetarily is less. So even if he sells his product at a lesser price in the market, it benefits him. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes?
Ma'am, as well as in US, ma'am, land is more and population is means compared to population, it is very less. And in India, ma'am, population is very high and land is very less for farmers. There are to
Correct.
be made buildings, many things are to be made, no. So farmers don't get that fertile land or that specific things
Correct. So
for
Indian
it.
farmers basically cannot think of selling anything in the market at a lesser price. Whereas US farmers, they can, because they are actually getting a lot of things from their government. Even when you studied the comparison of Indian and US farmers, you remember one point it was said that US farmers, they have good storing capacity. Storage capacities are, I mean, the built up houses for these storage things are very, very well equipped. Whereas Indian farmers, they don't have good storage capacity. So when a produce comes in the, I mean, the produce is done from their field, they immediately have to take it to the market to sell it. Whereas US farmers can keep it, till the prices in the markets are higher. And at times the US government also purchases it from them at a higher price. So they are at a high, I mean, they are at a greater benefit of earning money. That is why it was said that farmer in US leads the life of a businessman, whereas farmer in India leads the life of a mere peasant, who doesn't earn much, who basically lives his entire life in loan cycle.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Remember that? Yes.
Ma'am, there are many taxes also for farmers in India, as there
Yes,
is no
yes,
tax
yes.
for
Taxes are also there for
farmers in US.
farmers. Correct, correct. So
So
you
while
can see
selling the
that.
crops, they have to give many taxes of transport and many other things.
True, true, true. So what happens is this now, see the debate is that developing countries are therefore asking the developed country governments, we have reduced trade barriers as per WTO rules, but you have ignored the rules of WTO and have continued to pay your farmers vast sums of money. You have asked our governments to stop supporting our farmers, but you are doing so yourselves. Is this free and fair trade? So the debate is on this. Is this free and fair trade? You are encouraging free trade. But free trade, how free trade? Only when you want to sell your products in outside world, you want a free trade. But when it comes to others selling to your country, is it fair? No. That time you are having lot of trade barriers. Are you understanding the difference? See, a typical cotton farm in USA consists of thousands of acres owned by huge corporation that will sell cotton abroad at a lower price, and they can afford it. Even when you see the word lowered price, you can afford it because all that thousands of acres of land which has come under cultivation is all based on the subsidy given by the government. So the investment by that farmer is less here. Are you understanding this? Whereas, so even if he gets a lower price for his produce, he is actually earning a huge profit. But that is not the case with the Indian farmers, or that is not the case with the farmers in the developing countries. Are you getting what I'm trying to tell you? Is this clear? So
Yes.
is this a correct practice? Is this a correct practice? Do you think it's a correct practice that free trade is allowed in developing countries, but trade barriers are put in developed countries? Is it a correct criteria? Is it right on the part of WTO? It
It's
is
incorrect.
incorrect. You have to think and give logical answer if any question is asked on that. Okay. So let's see this now. WTO has started. Sorry, WTO was started at the initiative of dash countries,
Developing
developing countries.
Developed countries.
Sure,
Yes,
developed
ma'am.
or developing.
developed
Developed.
countries.
Developed countries. Okay. The aim of the WTO is to dash. The aim of the WTO is dash is to
Liberalize
Liberalize
international
international
trade.
trade.
liberalize international trade. Okay. WTO establishes rules regarding dash for all countries. WTO establishes for rules for developing countries, right? And establishes rules regarding what but free trade, okay, regarding liberal international trade, and it also sees to it that these rules are followed, correct? In practice, trade between countries is not dash, it is free, but is it fair?
Unfair.
Yes,
Unfair.
is not, it not is used, so you'll write fair, okay,
It's
only fair. Developing countries like India have dash, whereas developed countries in many cases have continued to provide protection to their producers.
Or liberalization.
Yes, they have liberal policies, whereas developed countries continue protection to their producers. Now, what do you think can be done so that trade between countries is more fair? What is your idea or your
There
solution for it?
either should be trade barrier for both the countries or shouldn't be for both the countries.
But again, if there is too much of a stringent trade barrier, don't you think that it will affect the money or the income that can be earned by the country based on that?
Then ma'am we should keep trade barrier for like few imports and exports, but there shouldn't be for few.
Yes, there should be certain items which should be taxed. Certain items can be given free trade policy. I mean, they can bring it to the markets without much of a barrier. Or else, instead of having a complete free policy, they can have government control on something. Like, they can have quota system where they can actually bring only certain amount of that goods in the market, because ultimately the government has to see to the positive side for the consumers as well, right? They should also have variety, correct? So can I continue? Okay, now I want you all to think that of all the things that we have done so far in the chapter, okay, what is the impact of that in India? What is the impact of this globalization on India? See, we have seen establishment of MNC in India. We have seen if MNCs are established, what it brings with it. Correct? We have seen foreign investment. We have seen about foreign trade. How does all this affect India? What is the impact of it on Indian economy? Because now we are coming to the later part of the chapter, that is globalization and the Indian economy. So now we are going to see how does it affect our economy.
Ma'am, there is a greater competition among the producers.
Okay. Okay. What else?
And
What
ma'am,
else?
especially the middle class people are enjoying this because they can now have improved quality and lower quality like prices.
They can have something in the international market at a competitive rate, right? So they are happy with the kind of products and the stuff they are getting. Even, I mean, they don't have to visit that country personally to buy something from there. What else? Anything else?
And ma'am, even they are
Yes.
enjoying the better standard of living than it was before.
How can you say so?
Because ma'am, there has been a lot of development with this, and now the stuffs are even getting like cheaper due to a few of the reasons. So that's why.
So I think when you're using the point of standard of living, it would be better if you explain that the MNCs are employing local people, and as a result of the salaries that they are getting, probably it's helping them to increase their standard of living also.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Anything else? Anything else? See, if you now divide it into different sectors, like if you say advantage of it only to the consumers, okay? The advantage to consumers is what? They have a greater choice, okay? They have improved quality and lower prices of several products, okay? And they are enjoying, because they are saving back on all this, they are as you said earlier, you can relate it in this way also, as they are saving back on the money that they would actually land up buying that product at a higher price. Now they are getting it in their own local market at a cheaper price, so they can save back and thus increase their standard of living. Okay. But when it comes to producers and workers, do you think that the impact is same? Like for consumers, the impact has always been a positive impact. But what about the people who are actually producing or the people who are actually working? Has it been beneficial for them?
When the foreign companies are investing in India more, so the native companies are like type of getting the loss.
Okay, if too much foreign companies are investing in India and they have a lot of international market, then the local market is suffering. Yes, definitely. What else? Anything else? One benefit for any producer will be that they don't have to invest much, correct? The MNC is making the investment and the MNC is also providing them with the technology. Do you agree to it?
Yes.
Yes. And also to the workers, many of the laborers who were earlier not having some jobs because of the establishment of MNCs, they are getting work opportunities. So is it an advantage for them? I'm saying the producers or the manufacturers are benefited. I mean, I'm talking of the positive impact is that the MNC is doing the investment, correct? So they are getting, I mean, they are saving back on their investment and they are also getting the best of technology because the MNC is providing them with that. That is one advantage for the producers. For the workers, there is one advantage is that earlier they were not having enough jobs, but now because of the establishment of MNCs, work opportunity or job opportunities for them has increased. Correct?
Yes.
Then
Yes,
why is it said that it is not uniform? Why is it said that just like the consumers who are actually at benefit from all ends, it is not so for the producers and workers? Why do you think? What can be the negative impact?
and because there are job like more jobs available now, but
Mhm.
still there aren't enough for all.
Okay. But then is it because of globalization or is it because of growing population?
And we can say both maybe.
Okay. Think of the negative aspects also because positive aspects most of the times we have already revised number of times in the class. Negative aspect, please think. Next time we will continue discussing on that and we'll finish the topic next time
Okay, ma'am.
and just keep a track if any assignment is uploaded and start solving the answers.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
thank you so much.
If you like our videos, do share them and subscribe to our channel. If you want awesome quizzes, write to us. Keep watching and keep learning with Walnut.